G'day and welcome back to Australia's best Daihatsu Feroza YouTube channel. In this episode, we are getting back on the Feroza. We're going to get it started running, make sure the oil pressure is correct, and not only idle when it's cold, but also when it's hot and under revs. So folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. We are getting back on the Feroza, and before we do, this episode is proudly sponsored by Minisport. Don't forget to use the code Tomo's TuneUps 5% at checkout. It will save you a discount on the entirety of the store, and this is only available at the Australian Minisport website. So without further ado, let's get straight into the Feroza and get this thing running. Alright, so here we are. Essentially, I've put everything back together. I didn't film a lot of it. Well, I didn't film any of it really, just simply because I figured it was exactly the same as the disassembly process. It's pretty much in the exact same way to reverse it. So what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the ignition coil. That way the car's not going to start. We're going to crank it. I've still got my oil pressure gauge connected. We're going to see what pressure we get when it is cranking. Once we've then got it at maximum sort of pressure, we'll then reconnect the coil and then we'll get started. We need to run it to get it hot to bleed the cooling system, but we also need to run it to see what the pressure is doing. Not only idle when it's cold, but also when it is warm, and obviously when it is revving as well. So let's do it straight away. The only thing I've got left to do is reconnect the old battery. This is probably one of the best Tomo's tech tips I can recommend putting in there, is just a battery isolator. Super easy thing to do. Oh my gosh, this one is super tight. I'd say probably because it's brand new. That earth terminal isn't overly tight, so I probably need to tighten those. Re-tension this, and you got to have this bolt reconnected in order for it to make proper contact. That is being a lot harder than...
Sorry, I don't understand.
No, it doesn't understand. Yeah, been a little bit harder than what I recall it was when it came off, that's for sure. There we go. Just the angle of the dangle. Alright, so everything is connected. Sorry, the ignition coil is still connected, which is just at the back of the engine, just on the firewall. You can do it one of two ways. You can either disconnect the plug, which is exactly what I've done, or just take the HT lead off there. Pretty straightforward. What we're going to do is you're going to keep an eye on this gauge and see what it does when it cranks. Obviously it's at 0 at the moment. It does have coolant in there. I've wound the engine over twice with the new timing belt. Everything is lined up, so we are good in that aspect. This is going to be a bit hard to do. I'm just going to put the window down just because it will be a bit easier for me to crank it and look at this at the same time. It's probably about as much length as I've got. Alright, here we go. Now remember, it will crank for a little bit before it gets oil pressure, just because it needs to suck it up. Alright, we'll give it another shot. You can also remove spark plugs to do this. It will make it a bit easier and a bit freer for it to crank over. Alright, we'll keep going. There we go. Oil pressure. Oh, it's off the charts. Oh, look at that. We've got about 68 PSI. That is awesome. So we do that first before we start the engine, simply because if we'd cranked it and it had run for, let's say for instance, a minute, even 30 seconds without oil, we're going to be doing damage to the oil system and, importantly, the internals of the engine. So now we've got the ignition coil reconnected. Let's give it a kick in the gonads. Oh, got a bit of a noise. That's just the oil pressure gauge touching the touching the fan. Try and get that away from it. I might just turn it off and reposition that. So it was actually, because the oil pressure gauge line is so long, it was actually slightly wrapped in front of the fan. I didn't realise that until it had just started, obviously. So we'll just pull that out and around from behind there. There we go. That's better. That'll be fine now. Yep, okay, let's give that another go. Another thing we also need to check is make sure there's no oil leaks underneath it. Because if there is, we're going to be in trouble. Alright, no oil leaks. Now, we don't actually have the front diff connected, so we can't actually road test this at the moment. The reason why the front diff is not connected is simply because I still need to put the axle seals back in and rebuild the front hubs. Okay, look at that. That pressure's off the charts. Yeah, 66 psi of oil pressure. Belt sounds a little bit dry. Yeah, so it's got a little bit of top end noise. Probably just the lifters, the rocker arms. We do have the oil pressure switch to reconnect, which is fine, but we've pretty much guaranteed now that we've got oil pressure. Well, we have guaranteed it because we can see it on there. But yeah, that's still sitting at 66 psi. Just going to go turn the heater on because we have done a cooling system flush on this, so we do need to get the heater hot. So we need to bleed the cooling system through there. So I might actually get my funnel. I'll reconnect it here just that way it's got a little bit of extra coolant. It can help bleed through there. And make sure that the heater gets hot. The easiest way to determine if the thermostat is open or not and the engine is actually getting hot is to turn the heater on inside, simply because the heat from the engine is going to move throughout the engine as well as the heater. Once the heater starts to get hot, you can then know that you do have circulation through the entirety of the circuit. And fun fact, this doesn't actually have air conditioning. Oh, well. That's gonna suck, especially in summer. It's got the button for it, but it's missing. I don't know where it's gone. Alright, oil pressure is still good at 65 psi, so it's starting to get hot, which is great. Fairly normal operation. Let's just double check, make sure we've got no leaks. Yep, none at all. Always important to make sure that you check for any leaks after doing any repairs, especially when starting it up as well. Just make sure there's no vacuum leaks. Kind of sounds like there is, but I'm not entirely sure. I think everything is connected where it needs to be. I didn't take off any hoses other than these standard ones, which that's fairly normal. Give it a couple of revs. Yeah, oil pressure is climbing. Alright, moment of truth. She's nice and hot now. Let's take it to 3000 RPM and see what she does. At 3000 RPM we have 36 psi pressure. Let's go double check and see what our specs are. Alright, so off camera I just had a look. Specs are between 36 and 71 psi. So that is a great success. Let's just turn the camera back this way. So it has been a monumental repair, should I say. I think it's probably the best word to use. Really happy with how this has turned out. The cooling system has completely bled, which is great. We don't have any issues there. The heater is nice and hot. I need to double check the oil level, which I'll do once it's back on the ground, only because at the moment she's currently on jack stand, so it's obviously going to give us a, and I say obviously because it's obvious to me, however it may not be to you, the viewers, it's going to give an incorrect reading because the car is going to be on an angle, so therefore the oil is going to be back or forward in the sump, and therefore dependent on where the sump plug, sorry, the dipstick is, will depend as to how it reads. So if it's at the front, which it looks like it is, because it's on an angle, the oil is going to be at the back, therefore it's going to show that it's low. If we overfill it, we're then going to cause damage internally. So essentially now I just monitor it for leaks, see what it does. So long as everything moves forward, great success. I I'll rebuild the hubs off camera. I'm not going to do that on camera. It's pretty straightforward. I have done videos regarding classic Minis on how to repack bearings. I've pulled them apart. The customer's not overly keen to replace them just because of the amount of money that we spend on this car at the moment, which is okay. There is a little bit of scoring on them, so I've advised to definitely replace them down the track. It is a bit of a mission to do, but, you know, it's up to them. It's not up to me to choose what they do and where they spend their money. That's no issue. Until then, I hope you enjoyed the episode and this nice little Daihatsu, should I say. For some reason, I keep thinking it says Suzuki for some reason. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the episode on the Daihatsu Feroza and everything that we've done on this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, feel free to leave me a comment. Alternatively, hit me up on Instagram or send me an email if you'd like me to have a look at your car and see what's going on. Really appreciate every single one of you being out there. And before we go, I should also mention that I do now offer memberships to Tomo's Tune-Ups. It is part of my YouTube channel. There are some perks such as viewing videos before they come out, and I do interactions as well with the people who are my members. So for those 2 members out there, g'day. Thank you very much for being part of it. Greatly appreciate you. There's heaps more coming up on the channel. We've got Grace. We've got the Morris Minor. We do have something special coming up soon, which you guys will see. Hopefully we can get that thing ready for the Rolston. If not, it might be on the back burner for them, but time will tell. Thanks for watching. Catch up on the next episode of Australia's best Daihatsu Feroza YouTube channel, Tomo's Tune-Ups.